Is Walter missing it?
Yeah, I know. So Melissa will see her. Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 at 7:01 PM. This is the Town of Wellington, Connecticut Board of Finance meeting, and it is a special meeting this evening. Meeting's called to order. We'll start with seating of alternates. Walter Parcell is not present. So we will need somebody to fill in for Walter.
I move that we seat Melissa Miller for Walter.
Give it a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
You wanna say aye?
We can vote?
No, no.
Oh,
Aye, just in case you didn't hear me.
It's unanimous. You could be an alternate. All right, we're gonna start with the approval of the minutes from 6/23/2025. Does anybody have any edits that are required to be made? Accept the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of 6/23/2025.
Second. Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, it's unanimous.
Just the housekeeping things, we tabled. Approval of minutes from. Wherever the meeting was before.
18.
Yeah,
I don't have those, Jeff. Do we need to do those tonight?
it's not on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll just put it on the next agenda.
Thanks.
Is there a meeting next week?
No,
It's the 16th, isn't it?
Well,
So there is a meeting next week. That's our regular meeting,
okay.
unless, yeah,
Unless it cancel, I won't be here.
yeah, and I don't think.
Yeah, I won't be here either. Yeah, well, we'll see.
What it says, if you guys have been holding on to have a
We'll see.
vacation or something.
We'll see if any business comes up. We could also always
Yeah, we're
cancel.
going away together.
By seat.
It is 2025.
So we will move on to present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic and maintain decorum. Do we have anybody for present to speak? Peter?
Thank you, Peter Tanaka, 125 Mason Road. I have two things and I hope I'm brief. First one was, I think we need to bring down the temperature of this town and to be a little more, learn to be a little more civil. During voting yesterday, I had to physically remove a woman from my office who was yelling at me and being completely disorderly and coming around my desk into my space, yelling at me, demanding that I do things that she wanted done. And I had to remove her physically from my office, and I had to have the state police come and physically remove her from the property. This is not the way to conduct business in a civil society. Secondly, I'm hoping that there's some lessons I believe to be learned from this season. I think one of them is that at the beginning of CIP, I urged the CIP chair over and over and over that it doesn't. No matter how often you say you need something, if the townspeople aren't gonna vote for it, you're not gonna get it. You have to take that reality into account. The second thing is that I received the education budget coming in high again for the next 2 years. And I'm gonna use some numbers, and if somebody has different numbers or can correct me, please do. I've been known to be faulty with my numbers in the past. But they have close to a 5% raise built into their next 2 years. 80% of their budget is payroll. That means about a 4% raise in their increase in their budget year over year going forward. They education as a whole in this town is about 75, 76 cents of every tax dollar. So the percentages are much more important for education than they are for general government. We actually cut general government this year. I believe that that's going to be a problem going forward. We froze the tree removal budget, and this last Thursday showed us that is not a good thing. Our fire departments were out for, I believe, 7 or 8 trees into the wire with fire. We've got to take care of our education issues. And then on the topic of the fire departments, I believe that the total increase in the cost of education for this town, pre-K-12, is about 150% of the total cost of our fire department. We need our public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. We have anybody else for present to speak? Yeah.
Thanks, Alan, Murder Road. I prepared my remarks. So I understand tonight's a Board of Finance meeting, and as Peter briefly touched on, Board of Education budget is something that the finance needs to consider it. So Board of Finance is still, they're still on the receiving end of every time they come here. The Board of Education, it's an emotional appeal every year, polished presentations just to justify more money without any accountability. The Board of Finance can't provide that accountability if the Board of Education doesn't want to do it themselves. Let me begin with just saying Steph Summers is a board member who I just should not be a continuing representing this town. Based on how she conducted and treated people, residents who simply just, if you disagree with her, forget it. She goes off the deep end and wants to silence you. It's not what true leadership is. Now about all of a sudden this $150,000 or 157, whatever it is, extra that came out of nowhere, the Board of Education claims. Where did it come from? The ECS numbers weren't a mystery. Town had them by the end of December 2024. The governor's budget included them in February. The appropriation committee in April, and the final state budget passed in early June. So if this money came from ECS, why wasn't it mentioned during the budget season? Why did, at one point, Peter Tanaka had heard somebody in town talk about how there was extra money or something? And this was known after 2 failed referendums. According to the state OPM's report, page Echo TAC 36, Wilmington's ECS grant money increased 3.38 million last year to 3.45 million this year, a modest change. So where exactly did that 150,000 or so come from? Because that does not equal 150,000. Some point to special education outplacements for rising costs. They do matter, but the district also gets, it bears about 400,000 in reimbursement. The town isn't bearing that entire cost, despite what some are trying to make it seem. Meanwhile, Wellington continues to spend well above the state's MBR, despite having no strong commercial tax base. This approach is not sustainable. Those that spend well above MBR are towns that have commercial industrial support to be able to go higher. I can provide numbers later on, but we were approximately 6.3% over MBR. Towns like Mansfield were approximately 3 or 4%. They have commercial and industrial that they can actually be higher. So if anything, maybe they go higher, but Wellington cannot. Test scores have declined over the last 5 years, falling behind neighboring towns, yet staffing has increased from 54 to 70 full-time positions, according to EdSite. Fewer students, more staff, and worse results. Something is clearly off. Then there's Hall School, built in 1922. Age isn't necessarily the issue, it's the neglect. So where the Board of Finance is giving them money, and they're not appropriating this money appropriately to maintaining their facilities. Now the town may have to face, potentially, if a new school comes to be, potentially face financial issues with legal trouble with the Hall Foundation, and we end up going away from there. Now we're staring at another tax increase driven by the Board of Education and R19 budget hikes, while other parts of the town, as Peter just mentioned, had to take basically cuts to their budget. That's not balanced and that's not fiscal responsibility. In closing here, I want to thank Bruce for showing leadership and speaking up. I also want to recognize Christina and Jason, even though Christina may not be here and, you know, I may be contentious, they handled themselves very well. And I give you guys kudos for that. And to the full board, thank you for your time and efforts during the season.
Thank you, Nick. Do we have anybody else for present to speak? No, then we'll move on to new business. The only item we have on it is to set the mill rate at 25.42. Anybody have any questions for Donna regarding this figure?
No, I don't think I have any questions. I just wondered if you wanted to comment about the ECS thing, but I know we don't normally do that. About why that wasn't factored in.
Yes. When the budget was designed early on in December, that was the estimated revenue number that we received from the state to use for ECS. And then after the state passed their budget, the ECS grant money was restored to the same level as the year that just ended. And when we received that information, we captured it in the budget.
And so it came up as an issue once it had passed, which was when we were already underway with referenda.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you, Donna.
Yes.
All right, so are we ready to vote on this? Or is there any further discussion?
I move that we set the mill rate at 25.42. Do you need more in the motion than that, do you think?
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Hi.
Okay, and any abstentions? No, unanimous. All right, thank you.
Do we have to take a roll call vote when we do the hybrid meetings? Or is it, I mean, it's clear to us, but.
I think only if it wasn't unanimous,
Okay,
I think.
It'll be reflected in the minutes too. All right, so that behind us, back to present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic and maintain decorum. Do we have anybody for present to speak? Okay.
Nick Talmer Road. So what I heard from Donna, and correct me if I'm wrong, the ECS levels were the same as last year.
Yes.
So why is there something saying there was 153,000 extra?
It was cut and then restored. It was cut before the budget season started and was restored after the first referendum. The state budgeting was badly timed for us.
Yes, and the town aid road grant was increased when the state passed their budget. So there were 82 parts to it. 80,000 was ECS, another 80,000 was town aid road.
So just from a timeline standpoint for people to understand, if these numbers were given out in December of 2024, and through my research, there was really no change, there was no drop. I think there was 76 districts that may have actually went up and 90 something that stayed the same. And we knew this in December, why was there a fluctuation? If
we don't
Because
know
the
what's gonna come
state
through.
legislature.
Yeah, but they were already known.
No,
No,
no, they weren't.
Well, reaching out to the state, they said they were, so there's a different
They
conflict between
gave
the
us a
town
number,
and the state.
the
So,
governor cut it,
yeah, no, I
and
understand.
then the legislature restored it
No, I
after it
understand that.
started.
Yeah, so there's a discrepancy between the town and the state then, it seems. So,
no.
The state had,
Yep,
yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, good, no, I'm letting you.
Sorry, yes. It was considered a loss and it was showing up on the revenue side as an expected loss because they had not committed to paying it. In fact, the governor had cut it. So it's just that the way the timing happened, it finally got done in the 11th hour, it was in the, late stages of the last session. So, that's when it became, unknowable. Nevertheless, there was no increase in it year over year, which is already a loss, in education dollars. But still, that's the timing. We were considering it a loss. It was showing up in the negative revenue that we have to make up by taxation. So in the first referendum, I believe that was part of the loss figure that led to that 7.5.
Yeah, so later on, I can provide to the board, documents from the state that showed February fifth, and I want to say April, I don't know the exact date in April, but there was 2 dates that had numbers that were not changed, so.
I don't think you were at the town meeting that preceded was it the second referendum or the third, Donna? You had just gotten a notice from the state.
Yes.
She had it in hand, the memo, saying, yes, we are giving you this 72,000. That's the first time you had positive notification. And she's the business manager, so, you know, it unfolded the way the legislative process did, so.
So where's the other 80-something thousand then?
County road.
Main Road.
So it wasn't, okay, so it wasn't Board of Education. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else for present to speak? Is your hand up?
So, my name is Liliana Borelli, this is my husband Anthony, we're new. Been here about 3 years, I think.
All right, could you just state your address for the record?
Yes, 70 Jared Sparks, Wellington. So this is very new to us. I just wanted to, so the mill rate is 25.42 now, right? That's what you voted on?
Yeah.
And last year it was 32?
33.89,
33.8, so there's a reduction?
yes, like about
Okay.
8 mils or more.
Okay. And I know that there was an increase in our taxes at the beginning of the year. Right? There was,
What there was an increase in the reevaluation of your house.
okay,
So a mill is a percentage of your house,
okay,
of the evaluation of the house, so your house got worth more, but we're taking a smaller percentage. Because that's, you know,
okay,
that's, mill rates are, the concept of behind them is. I don't have a nice word for it, so I'll just stop.
Well, so the mill rate is your tax rate.
yes, yes,
So
I,
If your assessment changes, if that's what,
right.
you gotta calculate it that way.
Which I don't know what I didn't get a copy of the
Okay.
assessment. I didn't, they came, I know that they said, I got a notice from the town, but I didn't, and I know that we're coming somewhere around.
I mean, you should have got one in the mail, but you can go.
We did, no, we
Oh,
did.
okay.
No, I'm saying, I got the notice, but I didn't get the results.
Oh,
I was
well,
wondering,
that's
am I
what I'm saying.
supposed
It
to-
should have been mailed to you, but you can go, always go see the.
Yes,
Assessor.
I should,
Yeah,
okay,
and there's a card on your property you can pull, and that's a good idea to do that.
yeah,
And check it
shows-
too.
Check
Okay.
it.
And when you get the assessment, it will tell you, like, if I look at mine, there's actually some incorrect information on it.
so as far as the mill rate, is that good, does that mean that my taxes, my property taxes are gonna stay the same, go up, go down, according to this mill rate? We don't know, it's according
It
to
has
my
to do with how
assessment.
your assessment,
Gotcha,
how
okay.
much it went up and went down and that kind of thing, so. If you come into the town hall when we're open, both the assessor and the tax collector can help you with that.
But assessments, I mean, your house property never goes down, really, it
Well,
will always go up,
One
so.
would hope.
one would hope, but
No,
some go down.
but the question you had at first, which was a good question, why is the mill rate down this far?
Mhm.
Anytime you do a revaluation, the mill rate gets set at a much lower rate, because it takes into account, now that the house values are up, that the taxation is already gonna, be raised up, so it corrects. And if all things were equal, you wouldn't see an increase in your taxes due to a reval unless there are other forces at work, but this reval was a big one. It captured the housing price spike that happened during COVID. It was delayed a year, so it's a 6-year since we did one. So there's quite a difference in the household valuations this time.
And there was also a number of issues in town where the amount of taxation that we have through commercial and industry went down.
Right,
So we.
It went up, but not nearly as much as housing.
Right, yeah, so there were some challenges for the town in those areas. So the housing and residential taxation has to make up for our not sufficient amounts in other areas.
there were also some state mandates that affected it. We had, like they decided to, to give, 100% disabled vets a full, waiver on their real estate property taxes. So, so that was like 9 houses that went off of our grand list, and again, others have to make up for that, even though it's an idea that most people would agree with. But all this stuff kind of happened at the same time. And also they changed the process for valuing vehicles. I would urge you, if you're gonna come to town hall, that you talk to the assessor about your value on your vehicles, because that's actually going down for pretty much everybody because of the way they're basing the values. So you'll see some relief there in terms of year-over-year tax bill. That may offset what your real estate increase may be.
So I have to come in and speak to them, or they just automatically?
You can call them if you want, but if
And
you.
who values the vehicle?
So the assessor can tell you both your
She
personal
can-
property.
yeah.
I'm gonna talk to them, they're very nice people.
Okay, here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you can call them too, but they will give you
yeah,
whatever,
okay,
I don't know how many cars you have or where you
Mhm.
registered, but they can pull both.
gotcha, okay.
The assessor's not full-time here, so you might contact her and see what her schedule is before you
Mhm.
come in.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
But
good.
her-
That's
her- the
usually
assistant's
here.
really helpful too.
Okay.
Yeah, she can,
All right,
she can see the question.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a hand up iPhone.
Peter Latinchich, 97 Trask Road. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Good.
Oh, great. Good evening. Stephanie's comment about ECS staying the same, being a loss, kind of it brings me back to Peter's earlier point about the larger picture of the budget in forthcoming years. ECS actually stands for Educational Cost Sharing, and it was designed by the state to provide support for each town, for each student that we educate. There was always a relationship originally between the cost of each student, the town share, and the state share. In recent years, that's changed. There's no longer any connection because our student population has declined so much that educational cost sharing continues to rise as a percentage of the budget, not the actual number of students we have. And this kind of illustrates Pete's point. At some point, neither the town or the state can continue to increase a budget on a linear basis, indefinitely, particularly given our demographics as our student population goes down each year. So I think it's really important for the Board of Finance to look at this with the Board of Education and right-size our educational budget to the actual number of students we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Do we have anybody else present to speak? No, at this time, then we will move on to good and welfare. The only thing I'll mention is Bob Shabbat. He suffered a stroke this week. My wife.
It was a couple weeks ago,
Oh, it
yeah.
was a couple weeks ago. Okay, my wife had talked to Christine and she said that he's doing better. He's just exhausted.
Yeah, talked to her yesterday, she said he was rototilling, so.
Yeah, no, I've seen him, he's good.
It's just tired.
He's good.
Wish him well.
He's a
If I was
talented story.
rototilling, I'd be dead.
Wish Bob well. So.
I have something else on good and welfare if you, unless you,
No,
did you
go
have
ahead.
something
That was
else?
it.
Sorry. So I wrote it because I was, wanted to mention it. And I can give this to you, Lisa, afterwards. For years, I've reported poll results for the Associated Press and have edited election night coverage at the Hartford Current. I have observed the efforts of poll workers and registrars over the years. After the polls closed Tuesday night, I watched the work of the Willington team, which includes the 2 registrars, the moderator, and the town clerk, as I awaited the results. These 8 women were careful, professional, and collaborative in their work. A process with checks and balances was communicated and followed to a T. I've seen many of them do this before and noticed a couple of new faces. What struck me is that they are a standout sample of strong, capable women who live in our town, and I was impressed. I worked outside the polls for hours Tuesday, but nowhere nearly as long as these officials, who I believe logged about 16 or 17 hours in all in this third referendum, serving the public as they exercise their right to vote. At the end of a challenging and brutally long day, they needed to be accurate, and they weren't. The citizens of the town may not realize that though we had 3 referenda, the pay for the 2 registrars only covers 1. So these 2 women who have served us so competently for years now do not draw any extra. I was proud to see them all again in action and count us lucky to have them there, devoted to their task, entirely reliable in their collaborative roles. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you to our poll workers as well.
Can I add to that? You mind?
Yes, you
They also did a yeoman's work in making sure that the budget wasn't completely busted. They realized that with only 1 question, it was an easy hand count. So they saved thousands of dollars in programming the scanners. Because you have to program 2 scanners and you have to pay the state to come in and scan them. And then using scanners, you have to have a specially printed form, which costs considerably more than using a Xerox form. So they did extra work to save us hundreds of dollars.
I was gonna go into that. I know that the programming cost they saved was 700. So, yes,
And
it's
that's-
significant. That's just one piece of it. And then too, noting that we have a brand new, a relatively new town clerk. She took part in all this. With the moderator, her first election was the second referendum. And so this was her second time out. And they just, they're a well-oiled machine already. Teskowski is now working there, volunteering in there, and she's been a long time volunteer public official on inland wetlands, and it was just an impressive group. They were really great, so.
I just want to say thank you, Peter, for bringing that up because I actually had a bunch of people that asked me the reason why they didn't use the tabulators. So that was great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I think I posted something on Facebook when I saw the question there, what that was.
So if there will be nothing more with good and welfare, we have a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Pause,
opposed?
breaks out.
It's unanimous.
9 minutes.
Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Do I listen to them or do you record? You tell me, it's G-K-O-W-S-K.
My number